Hi, all, and thank you for viewing this. My name is Angel Larena, and I am a Toastmaster in District 3. I am a project manager, software engineer, working on my MBA. And today, I wanted to talk to you about setting up Zoom for trainings or for large group meeting purposes that you have to host a bunch of people and you need to perform a training. Today, I'm going to cover the login process and the account settings and how to edit them and how to change it to your need. I'm going to cover the app login from your computer, and then I'm going to show you how to access application features on the computer and how to switch your accounts. Then I'm going to go in how to control a browser meeting and how to set up meetings in a browser and how to start them from a browser. I'm also going to show you how to start and host a meeting from the application software on your computer. Then I'm going to walk through every aspect of the meeting controls in the Zoom meeting. And I am going to show you how to record to the cloud or your computer, how to access that recording, how to pull the reports and attendance from that meeting, and any questions or additional info and how to contact me in the future for that. Now, getting started, I'm going to share my screen first, but I want to let you know that before I'm sharing my screen, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you how to do that. But I want to let you know that in order to show the Zoom window while you're sharing your screen, you will have to enable a setting for that, in which I'm going to cover in the account settings. Now we're going to start in with login and account settings. To log in, if you have a professional account through an institution like a university or an organization, normally that's going to have a special URL, something like mine does, asu.zoom.us. However, if you are on an account regularly, then you will go to zoom.us. This is where you're going to be able to log in, sign in, access your account setting, things like that. If for some reason you don't have an account and you're setting up an account, I recommend you to go over to setting up an account and find trainings on that, at least until I have covered that in a subsequent training in the future. So we're going to select sign in. And for purposes of this training, I'm going to be using the TLI Zoom account for District 3 AZ Toastmasters. So you're going to insert your email for that account. Then you're going to insert whatever password that is for that account. And you're going to click sign in. Once you sign in, normally it brings you directly to the meeting settings or the current meetings. So in here, you can see all of your upcoming meetings and any meetings you have scheduled in the future. This is really great to keep everything organized. You can also go and look at all of your previous meetings, and then you can also specify specific date ranges or anything like that. This will show you the personal room details. This is your personal room. This is like when you just start a new meeting and don't want to enter all kind of special settings for it. This will be a default for all of your personal meetings. You can also add polls and quizzes here. So you will need to add a general poll that you'll want to use in a meeting right here before the meeting. And you'll do this by clicking create, and you'll create a poll or an advanced poll and quiz. That will be covered in another training. Live streaming. You'll definitely want to learn more about live streaming, especially as you start to do trainings that will be free to the public or for the general public, and that you'd like to stream on Facebook or YouTube or anything like that, to where you can share it with a larger audience. You can also set up various meeting templates. And this really helps you to form a general standpoint of where you can set certain settings and make the meeting do certain things and then reuse it every time that you go in. So now we are going to cover how to set up a meeting. So whenever you go to set up a meeting, you're going to schedule a meeting. You're going to click this option. Now, I always suggest that if you're going to schedule a recurring series of meetings, that you come up with a naming scheme that is congruent and put together for all. First, you're going to put together the topic. The topic can be anything that will be the name of your meeting. For the purposes of this training, we're going to call this test. The when is what date you'd like to have this training. So if you want to do it on the 23rd, that'll be fine. You want to set the time to the time that you're going to host the meeting. So if we're going to do a 6 a.m. meeting, we're going to make a 6 a.m. training. You want to schedule the duration, and the duration is mainly benefits the purpose of the calendar. Whenever you send the calendar invite, it is going to show a 4-hour invite instead of a 1-hour invite. So this is for purposes of mainly the audience and the people who are joining. So if you are having a 4-hour meeting and wanted to open your meeting up an hour early, you would still only make it 4 hours, because you can open up the meeting earlier and allow people to join earlier, enabling them to get set up. So we're just going to set it for 2. If your meeting is going to be scheduled with a different time zone in mind, you can always change your time zone, but remember that the time zone is what's going to be shown in the Zoom invitation. If it's a recurring meeting, you can always check recurring meeting. You can change the recurrence to anything. Now, if you have a meeting that you just need to be set up and able to join anytime, because it's not something that a specific time is set up, much like we did for TLI during the winter, you would put no fixed time. No fixed time just has a meeting that never disappears. And normally on that previous meeting page that we showed, it would be all the way at the end of the meetings. And this helps, like I said, to find a meeting that doesn't necessarily have a set time every time you're going to do it, or if you have a recurring series that changes times. For the purposes of this, we're not going to make it recurring. Registration is whenever someone clicks the registration link for Zoom, they have to enter certain information on Zoom that you will wish to collect before they actually join the Zoom meeting. Normally, if you're using a service like Ticketleap or Eventbrite or something like that, you won't want to enable Zoom registration because it will collect redundant data. So for the purposes of this training, we're not going to actually enable the registration, but just know that whenever you enable registration, that people will actually have to register for the meeting before they join. Now, meeting ID. This is a way that says, if you're going to have a personal meeting with a few friends, then use personal meeting. This meeting ID never changes. So if you're going to have a meeting that's generally accessible to the public, you're going to want to click generate automatically, because then Zoom will create a specific unique meeting ID just to your meeting that won't be reused, reducing the frequency of people just coming in and dropping into your meeting, or what we call Zoom bombing. Passcode. Passcodes are great ways and a great way to set up security and prevent people from just bombing your meeting or joining from anywhere. I always suggest do not leave the passcode as the default. Change the passcode to be something meaningful to that meeting. So being that we're doing test, we could do something like test and then do -123. That is something that's meaningful to this meeting, but also provides an extra layer of security. Now, waiting room. If you are going to host a meeting that's accessible to everyone in the general public and they didn't have to pay for tickets or anything like that, you can go ahead and disable the waiting room. If for some reason you want guests to wait to be admitted, or you want to provide a way to provide better authentication for people coming in that's actually controlled by the host of the meeting, you can always enable the waiting room. And what this does is as people join the meeting, you're going to be able to allow them in or deny them. Another addition to the security features is to require authentication. This requires users to sign into Zoom on their own Zoom accounts in order to join the meeting. Normally, I do not recommend this unless you are sure that every person in the attendance will have a Zoom account. I always keep the host video and participant video off. Normally, when people join, they don't want to automatically turn on their video or their microphones. So I'd make sure that that is off. Audio, make sure to keep it to both because sometimes people do join in from their telephones. Now, allow participants to join. This gives you 3 great options of when to open up your meeting to allow people to join. And this setting does include your moderators, speakers, or anybody who's also a person that's going to be presenting in the event. You want to make sure that if you're going to open it anything more than 15 minutes early, you click anytime. However, if you're just going to do a 10 to 15 minute early login, you can go ahead and enable that. For the purposes of this training, we're going to enable it anytime. You're of course going to mute participants on entry. What that does is prevents everybody from just logging in and hearing everything going on around them, and it creates a huge ruckus whenever you're starting your meeting. So you always want to make sure that you mute participants on entries. You don't really want to do breakout room pre-assign unless you're for certain that these breakout rooms are not going to change and you're already going to have them all assigned and ready to go. Then you can automatically record your meeting if you would like. I don't suggest this because normally when you're starting a meeting, you have your setup time, you have time to prepare and get ready and make sure all the settings are in place. So I always suggest making sure that you start your recording after. You can also approve or block entry to users from specific regions or countries. This is particularly valuable that if you're giving a training or a presentation that could be viewed as offensive or illegal in another country, you want to block users of that country from being able to join. This protects you and them from any legal ramifications or any harmful content. You can, if you're the administrator or you have other people connected to your Zoom account. So a Zoom account can have multiple licenses connected together. Then you can enable them as a co-host. Then you're going to click save at the end of that meeting in order to save the meeting. For the purposes of this training, we're not going to click save because we are using another Zoom account. Now, once you click save, your meeting will show up here in the order, of course, what the date is. Now, after you've set your meeting, you can always go into the meeting and view everything. What I suggest you do is, if for some reason you need an invitation to go out to the general public, but you don't want to send a calendar link, you can always copy the invitation, which is right here in this little box, and you just click copy meeting invitation and it copies it. However, if you want to send out a calendar invite, you can always click one of these 3 options to integrate it into your calendar and to make sure that it goes out to the right people. This enables you to send out the meeting quickly and efficiently without having to send out different emails to everyone. Then we're going to cover the settings now. Now you know how to set up a meeting, name it, and save it and send out the invite, we're going to move into how do I edit certain settings for meetings in order to make sure that all of my meetings have certain things. As you can see, if you are not the account administrator, then you will not have access to change certain things. If you are the account administrator, you have access to change these. For the purpose of this meeting, the account administrator is the district director, and that would be the district director account. Being that we are using the TLI account, this account does not have access to change the option that all meetings are secure with one security option. And much of these security options and the settings we're going through are very detailed. They do have great descriptions for them. And like you see here, it has a learn more link. I suggest that you read every description of what this setting does before you change it. Waiting room. This waiting room option will actually change the settings for any and all meetings starting from this date onward. So if you disable waiting room here, going forward, waiting room will not automatically be enabled on any other meetings you schedule, and therefore will have to turn on a meeting basis. So this one will enable people to turn it on for all meetings. As you can see, there are many options for waiting rooms. You can set it up to where everyone will go into the waiting room. You can set it up to where people not in your account or people not part of your whitelisted domains can go into the waiting room. Any users invited during the meeting can be to be the host or the co-host can bypass the waiting room. See, this is a good option if you have many moderators or presenters that you want to bypass. Also, you can allow the participants in the waiting room to reply to the host and co-hosts. This will enable them to be able to communicate with the host and co-hosts while they're in the waiting room, allowing them to get notifications like, hey, we're just setting up, we're getting ready, we're going to let you in as soon as we're ready. Thank you for your patience. Now, this option down here to move the participants to the waiting room if the host drops unexpectedly is only if you don't want to have one of your co-hosts become the host. Normally, when the host drops, like when the host disconnects from the meeting, one of the co-hosts will become the host. However, if this setting is enabled, all of the participants that were in that meeting will be moved into a waiting room until the host is able to rejoin. Now, you can customize your waiting room with a logo and a meeting topic, and you can add a description. This enables them not to just see, we're waiting for the host to let you in. This could be like, this meeting is currently waiting and we're going to let you in soon, and whatever message you want to display here. You can add your logo, you can add your meeting topic, and you can add a description as well as a message saying, hi, we do see you and we know that we appreciate your patience. Please wait a little bit longer as we set things up and get ready to let you in. This is what your waiting room will see as they wait. Going down, as you see that there is a meeting password setting, passcode setting. So basically, this will say that all meetings scheduled from now into the future will be protected by a passcode. And then you will go into the personal meeting ID passcode. This is all personal meetings that occur will also be passcode protected, and you can actually set your passcode here. For the purposes of this training, I'm not going to show you this passcode or reset it. Going forward, you can add webinar passcodes, but we're not going to cover that today. You can also require a passcode for participants joining by phone. This is a setting that I do not recommend because people joining by phone typically don't have the ability or sometimes the knowledge to be able to access that system to enter the passcode, and it does sometimes make it difficult for them. I do suggest leaving this option turned off in the event that you are hosting a training. Embedding the passcode in the invite link for one-click join is something that you definitely want to have enabled, especially if you are sharing the link with others who are external. This enables a person for all subsequent meetings to be able to click the meeting link and join directly without having to enter the passcode. This is great for a one-time meeting or a meeting that has a small series of events that will happen that you necessarily aren't going to be reusing over and over. However, if you are going to have a meeting that does need to have a higher level of security and you do need to verify the users that are entering your account, you will want to not embed the passcode in the one-click join because it'll disable that feature and therefore they will have to enter the passcode going forward. The only authenticated users can join meetings. That is like the similar setting when I was showing you how to set up a meeting. This will make it to where the only Zoom users can use that option. Like I said, most of these are going to be very similar. Block users in specific domains from joining. That's, of course, from specific countries. Authenticated users, web client means the browser. And then, once again, countries and regions. Now, when you schedule a meeting, you can start with the host video on or off. I always leave that off. You could participant video on and off. Like I said, we always leave that off. Audio type. You always want to include both just in case they don't have access to one of them. This again is the allow participants to join. Of course, you can change that. Then this host key we are not going to cover today. Enable the personal meeting ID. Personal meeting ID is, of course, the meeting ID that will not change for any personal meetings that you're going to have. Then you always want to keep the use PMI off whenever you are scheduling a meeting because you don't want to use your personal meeting ID for all of the meetings that you're going to schedule. You can, of course, add a watermark to your video or shared content to where whenever it's recorded or anything like that, they can't use your content anywhere else. This is especially great for copyright. You want to unmute all participants when they join, and you want to definitely have upcoming meeting reminders. Once again, these are some of the other options. You can require encryption. You can definitely allow the chat, and by default, you can change who the people can chat with. You can allow people to save chats from the meeting, and that can be either only the co-host or host or everyone. This enables people to chat between each other privately. I always say to keep this on in case someone has another question for someone else and doesn't necessarily want to share that information with everyone. Auto-saving chats will save the chats for everyone automatically. I always suggest to turn this off. Sound notification when someone joins or leaves. Why? Because this can be especially distracting and annoying whenever you're hosting a training or a meeting and someone joins in the middle and everyone hears a ding or a notification and it distracts them away from the content you are delivering. I always turn this, that's why I say I always suggest this gets turned off so that no one is distracted when you are delivering content and training to people. You can always enable or disable this. This allows people to send files like PDFs, documents, pictures through the chat to each other. And it can also enable you as the trainer to share a document, a PDF with your audience and to give them more content to take home and reminders. You can definitely restrict this to certain file types. And you can also put a maximum file size. We're going to skip over the webinar because we're not training on webinar today. And then whenever you're enabling feedback to Zoom, this enables the user to provide feedback about their Zoom experience to Zoom. You can do a end of meeting experience feedback survey as well. So this co-host option allows the host to enable co-hosts and the co-hosts can have the same in-meeting controls. Normally, this is done by a trainer to allow somebody to moderate the chat, to moderate the users, while the trainer definitely focuses on delivering the content for their training. You can allow the host to do meeting polls and quizzes. You can enable a meeting host survey. You can do polls and quizzes, of course. You can always show the meeting control bar, which is the control bar at the top as you see. That helps when you're sharing your screen to allow you to control what's still happening in the Zoom meeting. I definitely suggest enabling this so that you have greater control of what you're doing. Now, this is the option I told you about earlier, the show Zoom windows during screen share. This is especially important if you are going to be doing something where you need to see the Zoom windows when you're training or when you're sharing your screen, much like I'm doing today. If this option was not enabled for me today, you would not be able to see my Zoom windows or anything that I'm doing on Zoom. So this is definitely one of those things that you want to switch off if you're not going to be needing to show your Zoom windows, or switch on if you're going to be doing something covering Zoom. You definitely want to allow the host and participants to share their content. If for some reason you are giving a training and you don't want to be taken over or anything like that, you definitely want to restrict who can share to your host, or you can leave it as all participants. Now, who can start sharing when someone else is sharing? Like I said, you definitely want to restrict this because you don't want people to cut in and start sharing over the person that's currently sharing if there are multiple trainers. And then if you are the main trainer, you definitely don't want to be cut off mid-training by someone accidentally sharing their screen. You can allow hosts and participants to use annotation tools to add information to shared screens. There is the option for the whiteboard. And the whiteboard is basically like a drawing board in a classic office setting or in a school where you can draw and do things like that. So it's a great way to do things where you need to draw or show things that are more creative. You can enable remote control. And what remote control does is, if you as a trainer are trying to help someone, show them how to use a specific system on a computer or something like that, you can allow them control over your screen in order to help them, guide them. Or you can have them share their screen and you can take remote control to where you can help them fix something or guide them in some kind of way. You want to enable meeting reactions as it enables people to add emojis to the meeting. And this can help you whenever you have a very large meeting and there's about 300 people and you would like audience feedback, but you don't want everyone coming off of mute saying, hey, yay, 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 that was so great. This enables a better way to do that. And I will show you that whenever we get to the actual meeting set controls and things like that, and how you can definitely add emojis when reacting. Allowing removed participants to join means that whenever you kick a user from the meeting, they can come back and rejoin after. You want to disable this because normally if you have a person who you've kicked out or banned from the meeting, you don't want them to come back later and to rejoin. Allowing the users to change their name when joining a meeting is highly important, especially if you want to take attendance and make sure that everyone who's there has the proper name in. This will give them the option to change their name. And this will also give them the option to rename themselves in the meeting. So this option is while they're joining, and this option is after they've joined. This option enables them to hide the profile pictures while they are in the meeting and they have their video switched off. This really helps people to be able to only see the names or not be too bogged down by pictures or images. Now we're getting into the more advanced settings. If for some reason that you see meeting participants having inappropriate behavior or things like that, you can report it to Zoom. And This option right here, breakout rooms, you definitely want to enable if for some reason you're going to have breakouts and allow people to be able to go into smaller rooms and communicate with each other, having side meetings as well. This is a great option, and you definitely want to enable this for all your meetings. Remote support is a great way to allow the meeting host to provide one-on-one support to another participant. And I always keep this off unless it's actually needed. Closed captioning allows your audience to be able to get captions live time while you're hosting a meeting. This helps the auditorily challenged individuals to be able to get the content that you're delivering without offending them or without having to repeat yourself or have somebody live on screen actively translating. Live transcription service does pretty well, but if you need something that's definitely more in depth, I would suggest using a third-party closed captioning service with an API token. You can also save the captions for future reference. Then we'll go down. Virtual backgrounds. Virtual backgrounds are a great way and a great option for when you're doing a meeting or hosting a training. You definitely want to allow them, and you definitely want to allow all of them as videos as well, because sometimes the videos can be quite interesting. You can do video filters. You can do immersive view that allows the host to create case-specific scenes. Most of these settings you're actually not going to use whenever you're doing trainings. So you can identify the guests with a guest tag. You can auto answer in group chat. You can do a default email when sending email invites. And then basically you can do a join from your browser link, which is great. You can do allow live streaming of meetings, and that can help you to stream to Facebook, YouTube, or any custom streaming service. And then you can do that for webinars as well. You can enable a stop incoming video feature. This allows the meeting participants to turn off all the incoming video on their feeds, and it doesn't affect anyone else's screens. Okay, so then we're going to get email notifications. These are notifications sent to you as the account owner. When a cloud recording is available, you can get that. And then these are basically simple, as you can see as we go through them. Each one of them is self-descriptive. And of course, you're going to want to enable this and disable it according to your own settings and wishes. These are other optional settings like blur snapshot on iOS app switcher, invitation emails, and the schedule privilege. So now that I've covered all of the in-depth meeting settings, now we are going to go into recording settings, which is the second part of Zoom meetings that would definitely be important to make sure that are verified. You want to enable local recording. And what this does is local recording allows you to record and save directly to your computer or device. Cloud recording will record and upload to the Zoom cloud, which you can, of course, access through your Zoom account. These are the various options when it comes to cloud recording. You can record the active speaker with the shared screen. You can record a gallery view with the shared screen. You can record active speaker gallery view and shared screen separately. You can record an audio file only, and you can save chat messages. There are some advanced features like adding timestamps, displaying the participants' names, thumbnails when sharing, optimizing the recording for a third-party video editor, saving the panelist chat as well, and then saving poll results. Then you can allow the cloud recording to be shared. You can turn on automatic recording. Then IP access control normally masks your address. You can require you can require anyone to authenticate before viewing the cloud recordings. You can set the recordings as on demand by default. You can require passcode to access that cloud recording. Viewers can also see the chat, and you can delete cloud recordings after a specified number of days. This is really good if you have a limited number of space and you want to delete certain recordings after a certain amount of time. You want to get a voice prompt for cloud recording or recording. And if you need everyone to know it, you can do hosts, you can do all the hosts and the guest, or you can do a guest only or no one. You can also ask the host to confirm before starting a recording. For phone users, you can also allow phone users to press 1 to consent to be recorded, or you can have multiple notifications for phone users. This protects you whenever you're recording on Zoom. Now that we have successfully covered the account settings and the logging in, we're going to be able to go further and discover what is available in a meeting, what can we do, how do we do it, and why. We're going to go over the app. So whenever you open the Zoom application, your Zoom application window will look like this. Normally, you will have a sign-in option. So whenever I'm going to do a switch account. So first time you open up Zoom, you're going to get this option. So if I was signing into with TLI account, I would sign in with the TLI account and then it would pull me into that. But because I am using my other account, I would just do that option for my other account. And then normally you'll end up in home. Home is the main place where you're going to see all of the main features. You're going to see your recent and upcoming meetings. You're going to see either create a new meeting or back to meeting. You're seeing back to meeting because we are currently in a meeting. However, if you were not, you would see new meeting with an option there. You will see join. So join is what you would click if for some reason you don't have a leak, but you have the meeting ID and the passcode. You can schedule a meeting from here as well. Much the same, you would go through, select your topic or your meeting title, date and time. You select whether it's a recurring meeting or not. And much of the settings are the same as we went over earlier. You'll just go through each setting and verify and make sure that all of the settings are correct. And then it gives you the option to download a calendar. Then you can do a share screen, which will start a meeting in shared screen mode. Chat is a feature where you can chat with people and other users of Zoom without having to be in a meeting. Meetings is where you will see all your upcoming meetings and any meetings you have recorded recently. Contacts is where you will see all of your contacts for Zoom. However, 90% of the time, you're going to use this first home screen where you see the new meeting or schedule or join. If, however, you have multiple accounts or you have your own account and need to use another account like the TLI account, you will go into the switch account setting in which you will click that. It will bring you to a Zoom login and therefore you can log into another account. So we're just going to go back to the other one. Now that we've covered the main application part, we're going to cover what to do in a Zoom meeting. There are many options here, much like mute, which will mute yourself. You can also set your audio settings here if you are new to Zoom. You can also pick your Zoom meetings, your video settings here. You'll want to set a virtual background setting if you have that ability in that options. You can add various different backgrounds to yourself to where if you want to enable one Zoom background in one meeting and another in another, you have that option. You can have many different backgrounds and filters as much as you need. Once you click that, it does change automatically in Zoom. If you have a green screen, you're going to want to enable the green screen. However, I do not, so therefore it's best I don't. Mirroring your video will mirror your video differently depending on what you're looking at. So if I mirrored my video, therefore my right hand is on my right, I'm looking at it, but however, it looks like it's my left hand. So you definitely want to keep that off if you're not going to be needing it for a specific purpose. There are security options. Security options are the options you have as the host to control the security in your meeting. Locking the meeting will disable people from being able to join. Enabling the waiting room, of course, will enable that waiting room we talked about earlier to where people who join will automatically go into a waiting room. Hiding the profile pictures will do this. It'll turn off the profile pictures and therefore you'll only see the name. Without it, you'll see a profile picture. Sharing screen, and this will allow everyone other than the host to share their screen. So if you enable that, everyone other than the host can share their screen. You can disable or enable chat as needed. This will allow everyone to either chat or not. Renaming themselves. This will allow guests to rename themselves on their own without having to have the host do it. Unmute themselves. So if you're in a meeting with about 300 people and you don't want them to unmute themselves, you will definitely uncheck this because you would not want them to unmute themselves and you want them to request to be unmuted. So if this option is disabled, when they want to unmute, they will have to ask the host or co-host for permission to unmute. Starting video, you will allow them to start video or not. So like, once again, I said, if you're in a Zoom training and you don't want people to turn on their videos or microphones, you definitely want to disable this option. And you can annotate on shared content. You can also remove a participant and suspend participant activities. Participants. This time I'm going to ask either Shin or Karen to come on video. So, Shin, could you turn on your video for me? Thank you. Now, as you see, we need about 3 or more people in the meeting to be able to enable a certain setting that is highly valuable when you have multiple presenters presenting. And that is called spotlight. So if Shin is getting up to speak and there are multiple people with their cameras on, what I will do as the meeting host or the Zoom master is I will open up the participant list like I'm doing now. I will go into more and I will click spotlight for everyone. What this does is it makes Shin the spotlight for everyone and everything. Now, this enables Shin to be able to speak to the audience without interruption from anyone else overshadowing their video. Whenever you have the next speaker coming up, all you need to do as the Zoom master or host is go into that person who is going to speak next, click more, and click replace spotlight. This replaces the person that was speaking with the person that is going to speak. Great option when you're switching speakers quickly, and therefore enabled to do that. Whenever you have 300 participants in the meeting, another option, another great tip here is there will be a search bar at the top. Search for that person's name. So if you have presenters, you can always ask them to rename themselves to presenter 1, presenter 2, presenter 3. That way, whenever you have that search option, you can click it, you can enter presenter 1, and it'll pull up that person. And all you have to do is more, replace spotlight. If for some reason you have a panel of trainers, you can add a spotlight, but also add another spotlight. As you can see now, we have 2 spotlights. This enables the panel of trainers to be shown all at once to the audience without interference from other people who are on video or just happen to come over the screen, as we've all seen in some meetings. This gives the host of the Zoom master a little bit more control over who's being shown to the audience when they're speaking. For these purposes, and then after, say you have a panel, or say I'm a trainer and I want to bring up Shin as a guest speaker to share her experience. Shin comes up, we share the screen. She shares her experience. I ask her questions. She asks me questions. Shin's done. All we're going to need to do is remove spotlight. Once we remove the spotlight, I, as a trainer, come back on. I'm spotlighted to everyone. Therefore, it's all good to go. At the end, if you want everyone to be on the grid at once, you will disable the spotlight for myself. And then all you have to do is have them switch their view at the top up here to gallery. Now you see everyone once again. This is a great way to be able to switch between speakers as you're training if you have multiple speakers. Another great thing about the participants window for a moderator, Zoom host, anything like that, mute all. If anyone comes off a mute and you're not able to get them to mute, you can unmute them all. If for some reason you get a text message or a email saying, I don't have the Zoom link, what do I do? How do I get in? You can go into this participants and you can click invite. You can do email, Zoom rooms, or contacts, but the option I always suggest is to copy the invite link. This gives them a direct link with the password in it directly to this meeting. So if for some reason somebody doesn't have that link, you copy this invite link, boom, it's copied. You close this out and you share it with whoever you need to share with. For the purposes of this, I'm just going to share it to the chat. Boom. See how that link just pops out? Now, anybody could click that and join the meeting. That being said, you can merge this to the meeting window, which will move the participants into the regular Zoom window. I don't prefer this as a Zoom host because it can make my screen smaller whenever I'm trying to see everyone. So I always definitely pop this out. And if you don't have it popped out, here you go. You can definitely, where is it at? Oh, it's right. Where did it go? Sorry, right up here. Pop out. Boom. Comes back to a little window that you can open and close. When you're done with this, for those of you on PC, you'll have an X at the top right whenever you're doing this. You can just close it out when you're done. Same thing with the chat. My chat's right now enabled to be in the Zoom window. However, I normally, like I said, pop it out. This enables me to have a little window. This is especially for helpful to people using two screens. You can host your meeting and have all your chat participants on another screen to where you get the full experience of controlling the meeting. This is where you will chat with certain people or everyone in the meeting. If you have a co-host and host option, you'll send messages just to them, things like that. You can share files from Dropbox, your computer, anywhere. You can add emojis or anything like that. And you can definitely, as the host, you get the option to save the chat. You can restrict who people can chat with during the meeting. So if you're a trainer and you notice a lot of messages coming in and you're one of the trainers who don't want a lot of messages coming in because it can be distracting, you can definitely restrict the chat to no one, which means no one can send messages. You can do it to co-hosts and hosts only. And that's a great option for you if you definitely want to have a little bit more control over your chat and how people are communicating. Then we're going to go into the share screen options. As we already know, I'm already sharing my screen. As you have more applications open, that'll all populate here. If you have two desktop screens, which I'm on my laptop, so I don't have that option right now, you'd see desktop 1 and desktop 2. So you just click whichever desktop you want to share. Please remember when sharing your screen that you want to disable notifications if you're going to be sharing your whole desktop. And if you're going to be sharing music or a video, you want to make sure that share sound is enabled or that you have it optimized for a video clip. So if you're going to be sharing a YouTube video live during screen share, you want to optimize it for the video clip. But if not, and you're just sharing music or whatever, you're only going to want to share the sound, right? There are advanced options such as you can show slides as a virtual background, which means if you have a PowerPoint presentation or something similar, you can actually show it as a background of your own video. You can show a specific portion of your screen. And what this does is it enables you to just click where you want to show the screen. Then you can only share computer audio. This is a great option if you're going to be playing music for a meeting that's coming up and that you've opened the meeting and you don't want to have dead silence, but you also don't want to have everyone speaking at that moment. You enable computer audio and therefore you're able to share music with them. You're able to just have a little dance party or something beforehand. You can also share a video before, or you can do a second camera. You can also share files, of course, like we said earlier. After sharing your screen, there are the polls options. Therefore, you're not going to you won't get this pop-up. I'm logged in twice, of course. But if you have a poll, your poll options are going to show. You'll create the poll, like I said earlier, before your meeting in the account settings. Then that poll will populate here. And what you'll do is you'll open that poll up. Everyone will get the poll. They'll vote. And once they're done, you close the poll and you get to see the results. Great option on getting that. You can also pause your recording. So if you want to take a break for 5 minutes, you can pause the recording. If you're done recording, you'll click the stop recording. Pausing recording is great if you have a long training and you want to give everyone a 5-minute break, but you don't want that 5-minute break to be included in your training. You'll just click pause and then go on. Live transcripts are great for when you do have, like I said, auditorily challenged individuals that are joining your meeting. This enables them to be able to see your captions live in real time. There are many options for this. One, you can assign someone to type out everything you're saying. And I'm going to tell you this, that can be difficult if you talk as fast as I do. Or you can use an API token from a third-party closed captioning service. Or you can enable this new feature that Zoom has been rolling out, which is live transcriptions. Live transcriptions are not perfect and therefore will not necessarily cover your every word in exactly as you say it, but is a great option for those of you who don't have the funds to cover a third-party closed captioning service, as they can get expensive. Now we're getting into breakout rooms, which can be a whole hell of a devil in itself. Basically, you can do an assign automatically, in which Zoom will take everyone and break them out evenly. Or you can do assign manually. Assigning manually makes you and the co-hosts assign every single person to a breakout room. It doesn't give a notification to the guests to assign themselves. Letting the participants choose the room is a great option if you're doing something like, hey, I'm going to go into this room to learn more about marketing techniques, but I'm going to go into this room to learn more about presentation techniques. It's a great option. So you'll definitely pick how many breakout rooms you want. You'll do let participants choose the room, and then you click create. Once they are created, you can go in and rename them all. So say you wanted a marketing room, boom, marketing. Next is PR. Or let's do presentation. So do a presentation room, boom. Then you can do room 3, which is just a hangout room. You can also assign people to this ahead of time, but like I said, I suggest allowing your participants to be able to choose their room. So once you're done doing all of the rooms, what you'll do is open all the rooms. Opening the rooms will enable a notification pop-up on all of your guests to pick a room to go into. Now, sometimes you'll find that guests do have difficulty doing this. So Zoom does give you the option as the host or co-host to assign them to a specific room and bring them back. So this will enable them to join. Now, it's highly important to let your guests know that they may not see a join button right away. As you can see, we see marketing presentation in room 3, but we see zeros. You need to instruct them to hover over that 0 number in order to join the room they want to join. This can be significantly different on a mobile device, but as I said, I'm just mainly covering the computer aspects of this today, and mobile device will be covered in a later training session. Now, after all of this is done, you can definitely broadcast a message to all the rooms. This is really great if you're going to close the breakout rooms in 10-15 minutes. So closing rooms in 10 minutes. Then you can broadcast this to everyone. And what happens is everyone just got a notification saying, hey, the rooms are going to close in 10 minutes. Whenever you're ready to close your rooms, you're going to click close all rooms. Once all the rooms are closed, it'll begin pulling everyone back into the main room, whether they've left the other room or not. Whenever you're wanting to recreate rooms later, like say you have multiple sets of breakout rooms, you want to delete all of the current breakout rooms that you have and then add a room. And then you'll keep on doing that as you need. Renaming it, you'll assign it or whatever, and you'll open it and close it like we just did. So that's how you do a breakout rooms. Next, I'm going to cover those reactions we talked about, those emoji reactions. These are great for when you need audience participation, but you don't want your audience speaking. So if your audience wants to show appreciation for what you're speaking about, you're going to have them do the clapping. Oh, you can. But, so if you renamed the earlier breakout rooms that you had before, what happens is when you reopen them, those people who were assigned or chose to be assigned to that room earlier will automatically go into that new room that you just made, whether or not they wanted to go there or not. By deleting the rooms and recreating them, you're giving them the option to join another room. Yep. Now, back to the reactions. So you've seen the clapping. So thumbs up, you can ask someone to give you a thumbs up reaction if, say, like Shin just now gave a thumbs up reaction because she understood what I was saying. So whenever you're checking for understanding, you can always have them give you a thumbs up or not. Another great option is to give a heart if they love what you're saying. Then there's the laughing to display humor. And like I said, there are many different options as you can definitely enable more than one. Next up is a yes. So if yes, that if you're voting and it's a yes or no thing, this will show a yes. And it has to be disabled. So if I say no, it'll keep enabled until I undo it. So this, if somebody wants you to tell you to slow down, they're going to say, slow down. If somebody wants you to tell you to speed up, they're going to tell you speed up. Or I'm away. That means they're not at their computer at the moment. Another great thing is that if you're asking for audience participation and you do want to allow them to unmute themselves, but you don't want everyone unmuting at once, raise hand. Raise hand feature makes the person who raised their hand prominent on the host screen to where they can see who's raised their hand and who hasn't. And for you, the hosts and moderators, you can definitely see who's all raised their hand right here with the little hand in it. It's a great way. And as the host, you can also lower their hands. So if you go in here and you can click more and you just lower their hands. So like I have my hand raised as myself, so I would just go back in and lower it. But because Shin raised her hand, you can see you have the option to lower her hand after you've answered her question. It's great options. These two options I'm not going to directly cover in this training as Sometimes it is just going to take you to a Facebook link, and what this does though is it enables you to live stream to Facebook or a custom streaming service. So if you want to go live on Facebook, you will click this and it will take you to live stream on Facebook. And now that we have covered every aspect of the meeting and that, we're going to go into recordings and how to access the recordings. After you successfully recorded your meeting, you're going to go ahead and log into your meeting, into your account, and you're going to log into your Zoom. You're going to go to your Zoom after you've logged in, and you're going to do recordings. Exponentially important whenever you're trying to pull the recordings to send to someone. If you're recording to the cloud, you're going to have them all in your cloud. If not, you're going to have them on your computer. You'll still be able to see them though, because Zoom will show you where. What you'll do is you'll find the recording that you want. Normally the recording is named as your meeting. You'll click on it and you'll see your recording. What you'll want to do is, if you want to enable the recording to be shared and viewed without having the files, you'll create a shareable link. If you want to download this, send it to a video editor to be used on YouTube or something like that, you'll want to click download. Download will have each file downloaded separately and you can download them. After you've downloaded them, it'll give you each of these files in your computer. Normally, this is going to be the MP4 file, then an MP3, and a chat file. So it's really great to find these recordings and really download them after, so that you're able to share them with the people needed to be shared, and you're able to get them uploaded externally. Now, finally, we're going to cover, how do I look at attendance and how do I find out who was there and how long they were there? You're going to want to go to reports. Now, usage reports shows the meetings, the participants, and the meeting minutes with the specified time range. This will show you who was in your meeting, how long they were in your meeting, and the name they were under in your meeting. This is great for attendance purposes. Meeting reports show the registrations and the polls. So you definitely don't want to get these confused, because usage will show you an attendance record, meetings will show you registrations. So we're going to go to usage. If you can see recently, I got this one right here. I was able to pull that up. So if you see, I recently had this meeting. We had a 68-minute meeting and we had 7 participants. If you click this number 7, you can see everyone who logged in, everyone who was there, and how long they were there. You'll want to click Show Unique Users, because sometimes Zoom will record a person twice, especially if they accidentally dropped off or rejoined. It'll combine everyone, especially only if they have the same name. So if you see, iPhone 13 Pro was actually Lena Joe before she was able to change her name. You'll want to export this, of course, but whether you want to have the meeting data or not is completely up to you. But if you need the meeting ID and things like that, you'll want to definitely make sure that you include this. But for attendance purposes, we normally will not do that. We'll click export and you'll be able to download a CSV file, which you can open in Excel and convert it into an Excel file and do many things with it to be able to verify attendance and see who was at your meetings and for how long. So now that we have covered the attendance and reports, I'm going to go over everything we covered real briefly one last time, and then we're going to end our training for today. Today, I was able to show you how to log in through the browser and edit any account settings that you need to edit before hosting a training. I covered how to log into the app, how to switch if you have multiple accounts, and I showed you the various application features that are used. I showed you how to set up a meeting in the browser and how to start the meeting from the browser. And I showed you how to set up a meeting in the application as well. I showed you how to start the meeting and host the meeting, covering every aspect of meeting controls throughout the Zoom window. I also showed you how to record your meetings and how to pull the recordings after you're done with your meetings. Finally, I showed you how to get an attendance report for the meeting that you hosted after the meeting is complete. That helps you to verify that if you need to have a certain person attend for so long, they've done it. If you have any questions or concerns for me in the future, I request you to please contact me at my email, which is Angel, ANGEL, Larena, LARENA, .TM, as in Toastmaster, select TM, at gmail.com. I will get back to you as soon as I am able to if you reach out to me and let me know any questions you have, or I will definitely forward your question on to someone who can assist you further. I thank you and I genuinely appreciate your time today, and I hope you have a great and wonderful day. Thank you.